welcome to the ICS track room. Thanks for coming in today. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are excited as I am for the weekend, definitely. Today we're going to dip into the world of oil and gas with industrial cyber risk management in the oil and gas industry presented by Arshad Massomi. To give you a little bit of insight of what he'll be talking about, oil and natural gas companies own and manage critical infrastructure that are vital not only to companies' operations, but also critical to the global and national economies. Upstream, midstream, and downstream operations are valuable targets for cyber threats from adversaries with a specific interest in oil and gas companies. The inherent challenges of each sector are now compounded by automation and digitization of the oil and gas life cycle process. While this evolution has led to maximized profits, improved safety and efficiency, this digital transformation exposes critical infrastructures to cyber threats and high impact consequences. And with that, I'll have you guys help me welcome Arshad.
Thank you. All right, my name is Arshad Massomi. I know you guys came here for Gary Nealand. I had to fill in for him. Some emergency things took place. But if you're a Gary fan, I'm sorry to disappoint. Great guy, great guy. All right. So I do want this to be interactive. If you're in the back, please come forward. There's a lot of seats. I'm going to be asking questions. If you can please answer them, that'd be great. First thing first, I do want to get to know you. So just real quick, you don't need to put in your email address. You don't need to put in your name. You don't need to do any of that. None of that's getting recorded. This is just for me right now at this very moment in time. This isn't going back to my company. This isn't going back to HoustonCon. I'm literally just going to look at the results right now. So it's just 3 questions. I had more questions, but then my team said it's a little too much. My humor's weird, so we kept it at 3. So just a real quick, I might. So I'm going to give you guys like 2 minutes to do that, maybe just 1. And again, this is just so I know who we got in the audience. Still see some phones out. You guys are either texting people or doing the survey, I can't tell. I'll give you guys 30 more seconds. All right, I think we're good. All right, let's look at it. So I can't bring it up because they're going off back there, so I'm just going to look here and give you kind of the main ones. So industry you work in, we got some security, lots of oil and gas, obviously, I'd hope so. Energy, local government, propane, and propane accessories. All right, let's see. InfoSec, consulting, energy, recruitment. Oh, is this for me? You guys are recruiting speakers. All right. So okay, let's look at job titles real quick. We've got security guard, control systems, bus dev, cybersecurity intern, automation, IT manager, ICT, ICSOT. All right, cool. A couple IT. And let's see whose favorite ice cream is the winner. We got chocolate chip, Rocky Road. Vanilla? All right. Hey. Strawberry mint chalk. All right, cool. All right, we got a lot of fun people. No sherbet, though. I'm disappointed. All right, so let's get started. Arshad Massomi, U.S. Air Force veteran, IoT, OT, solution engineer with clarity. Let's get going. So digitalization is driving greater efficiency and throughput for oil and gas companies. So a trend we've seen the past couple of years is that oil and gas companies are embracing and adopting and hugging digital transformation. Right? And you guys see that? Yes? No? Yes? Yep, okay, cool, some nods. Now, what we've seen in their plant operations is that they're taking advantage or benefiting from technologies, particularly that are adding more automation, cloud connectivity, cyber-physical systems in their OT environments, right? Now, with that trend, what we're also seeing is a clear correlation between digital transformation and cyber attacks. Now, this is where I kind of want engagement. Why do you think that is? Anybody? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. Money? I'm sorry? It's always about money. It's interesting you say that. I have a quote from a colleague that he really want me to say, but it's a little inappropriate, so I'll keep it at the end. We'll see how intimate we get here. But any other answers? Why? Why is there a correlation between digital transformation and cyber attacks? Why is it the more that they adopt technologies, the more cyber attacks they get? Yes? I'll come to you. Oh, no, that's fine. I heard you. Here's a gift card. There might be, there might be nothing in there because I had some Starbucks. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So what he said was, as they're adding more technologies, they're adding to their attack surface. Right? That makes sense. Now, I'm not trying to say don't adopt digital transformation. Do not embrace it. I'm not saying don't add more technologies. Right? But how can we reduce that attack surface? How can we manage it? That's the answer you should be going towards, right? A lot of people don't want to adopt new technologies, like, oh, no, we're gonna be adding more attack surface. That's the wrong way to look about it, right? The better way to look about it is how can I manage that attack surface? Now, I have 3 examples here in the past couple of years. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Some attacks they were involved: ransomware, malware infections that penetrated the IT network environment before disrupting their OT environment and OT technologies. Now, when we talk about risk transfer from IT and cloud to OT, this is what I'm talking about. This is what we're referring to. By the way, if there are any questions, please interrupt me. Throw a rock at me. I don't care. Talk back to me. I hate just talking at people. So, now, with these attacks, right, with these prevalent attacks, what we're also seeing is a robust response from governments around the world, right? And a lot of oil and gas companies are saying, or have been sharing, that though they appreciate the awareness and guidance in these initiatives, they're also being overwhelmed, right, by the sheer scope and volume of these initiatives, right? Now, there's multiple reasons as to why they're overwhelmed. I'm going to talk about some of them, but is there anybody here that can, talk to that? Why are they overwhelmed? Yes.
Directive comes out and says, no IT resources anymore, so you got to segment off from corporate services. So, I mean, that's a lot of work to undertake, especially if you don't have anybody that's never done IT work before, right? So, you have your own domain controller, servers, app server, APN management. I don't know of any OT people that have done that for, as their job, besides, little things, but that's basically what I'm seeing as an OT person.
Thank you. Aren't you glad you came from back there?
Yes, I did. I'm glad. Yeah,
couple rows forward. All right. So basically, what he shared is that IT security, or actually, correct me if maybe I misunderstood you, but IT security doesn't know what OT security needs, basically, to summarize it, right? And that's fantastic that you said that, because that's my next slide. So, IT environments are not the same as OT environments. So securing your IT is not going to be the same as securing your OT. So with these initiatives coming in, with these cyber attacks coming in, the frustration with oil and gas companies are that, OT security is going to be fundamentally different than IT security. Now, what's also happening, and what my friend here just mentioned, is that a lot of these cybersecurity teams that are getting tagged and are being responsible for OT security have IT security background, right? Now, the issue becomes they try to tackle these OT security problems with IT security solutions. And then when you do that, you don't secure OT properly, as you can imagine. So, what we have come up with is 3 key principles. Easy, simple, anybody can do it, as long as you do it. So, 1 is gain full visibility into all cyber physical systems in your OT environment. Now, visibility, I'm going to talk about what we mean by visibility. It's not just visibility. I can see it and I can track it. It's a lot more than just that. Now, number 2 is going to be integrate existing tech stack and workflows with OT. And then number 3 is going to be extend your IT security controls to your OT environment. I'm going to break that down in these next couple slides. Any questions so far? No one's fallen asleep, which is fantastic. All right. So, gain full visibility into all CPS, cyber physical systems. I don't like acronyms. Air Force, we use acronyms all the time. The first year I was lost, I had no idea. They had an acronym for bathrooms. So, left side here, you're going to see what you would see typically with just IT security solutions, right? You're going to see layer 4, all your IT tools, all your IT stacks. But in all the OT layer 3.5, 3, 2, 1, 0, all that's going to be a question mark. What do I have there, right? I have no idea what I have there. Your risk is going to be unknown. Your remote access is going to be up in the air. You might have a jump box somewhere that somebody comes into and then they get into your OT environment, but then after that, you have no idea what they're doing, right? You have no idea what changes they made, what accounts they logged into. Maybe you can limit that, but still, you don't know what you don't know. You can limit the access, but even then, you don't know exactly what they did. Unpatched legacy systems, all that good stuff. Now, on the right side is where you want to be. And that's going to be visibility into all of it, right? So 3.5, 3, 2, 1, 0, you're going to see all of your assets. But again, visibility isn't just seeing your assets, it's about knowing how they're communicating. What are they communicating with? East-west traffic, north-south traffic. You want to see what vulnerabilities they have, what risk they impose within your network via those communications, right? So what ports and protocols are communicating over? Monitor that traffic. So that's what we mean by visibility. So 1, pretty simple, right? Easy. Gain visibility, it's not easy. It's not easy. But thankfully there are tools to help you with that, right? Now, number 2, integrate your existing tech stack and workflows with OT, right? Now, I mentioned earlier, right, and I'm kind of contradicting myself here, right, where I said your IT tools are not compatible with your OT environment. I said that earlier, right? I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying integrate, right? So integrate. So you already have IT tech stacks, you have workflows, you have personnel that are used to utilizing those IT tools, right? And workflows. I'm not asking you, or we're not asking you to replicate that into OT environment. We're asking you to replicate and consolidate it. Any questions here of what I mean by integrating?
where is that at?
So what I'm saying is converge them together.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So if you have workflows for ticketing systems, for example, and you have personnel that are utilizing your, for example, let's just say your SOC, right? You don't need a second SOC for your OT environment. You can utilize the same SOC, the same SIM, just ingest that information in there. Get tools for your OT side to discover those OT devices, vulnerabilities, but then integrate them into your IT stack and your IT workflows and personnel. Does that make sense? Awesome. So number 3, extend your IT security controls to your OT environment. So now, at this point, in this stage, your oil and gas company would have visibility into all your devices, right? They would have integrations into their IT tech stack. They made those integrations. So now they're going to basically extend their IT security controls to their OT environments, meaning their vulnerability management systems, their ticketing systems, their threat detection and response workflows. So now you're integrating that, now you're converging it all together throughout your company organization. So now it's not just IT and OT, it's IT and OT together, right? Now, the recommended journey for cyber physical system governance, we're going to ignore the people and the tech for now. We're going to talk about the strategy at this moment, right? If you can notice, that big chunk is asset discovery. Because right now, raise your hand if in your OT environment you are manually tracking your OT assets. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. All right. We don't know what company you are, so you can stay anonymous. All right. So now, oh, was that? Oh no, you're scratching your nose. All right. I thought you were raising your hand. Now, who is managing their vulnerabilities manually in their OT environment? Anybody? No? Wow. Everyone has perfect system setup. All right. So what you want to do is have asset discovery. That's going to be number 1. Without that, you can't do any of the rest. You can't manage your CPS assets with your CMDB. You can't extend endpoint protection to your CPS. You can't segment CPS for network protection. You can't integrate CPS events into IT SOC. You can't do any of those without having full inventory, constant live inventory, right? And I'm not saying inventory, somebody going belly crawling into your plants and writing it down on a piece of paper and then giving it to you every month. I'm talking about knowing every day, every hour, every minute what devices are on your network. That's what I mean by asset discovery and asset inventory. Now, from there, the sake of this whole talk track, right, we're talking about risk and vulnerability management, oil and gas companies. We're going to choose number 2, that nice hot pink highlight, managing vulnerabilities and risk across CPS. But again, you can't do that unless you have asset discovery. So what is that going to look like? We've broken it down into 5 phases, and not really, because we have phase 0, and then phase 0 is discover assets. So 6 phases in reality. I should probably fix that. That should be phase 1. What is 0? It's just a number. All right, so phase 0, discover assets first, and then we're going to break it down all the way to phase 5. And again, it is, so okay, this part, I said it's simple, right? I said it's simple. This part, it gets very complicated. So these next few slides, it's a lot of diagrams. Okay, just keep up with me here, all right? Just keep up with me here. So, phase 1, define program objectives. Are you guys ready? It's going to get crazy. That's it. That's all you need to know. You need to determine how you will define, measure, and prioritize risk throughout your OT environment. Establish measurable short and long-term goals for your CPS vulnerability and risk management program. Basically, have a game plan. You need to have a game plan. Don't go into a blind. Don't go and say, hey, give me a list of my vulnerabilities. Well, okay, what now? What are you going to do with that? So you need to have a game plan. You need to prioritize. You need to figure out, have KPIs for your risk and vulnerability management programs. Okay, now, number 2, phase 2, identify vulnerabilities. All right, guys, ready? Super complicated diagrams coming your way, and it's just a bullet point. Correlate your CPS inventory against CVEs and other weaknesses. And then if desired, you can integrate and extend any existing IT vulnerability scanners to compatible CPS to pinpoint vulnerability assets and uncover risk blind spots. But basically, you're just matching your devices, what model they are, what firmware they're running, what OS they have, to the CVEs, right? Now, you're probably saying that's a lot of work. I don't have enough people. I don't have enough hours in the day to do that. There are tools out there that can do that for you. If you want to talk about those tools, we can afterwards, but this is just a game plan for you guys, all right? This is the game plan, and then you can incorporate the tools to do it for you there. But match the devices and the attributes of those devices to those vulnerabilities. Phase 3, prioritize and firefight. Very simple. So prioritize the most important vulnerabilities in your OT environment based on which ones are or are likely being actively exploited in the wild today. So that information is available, right? So it says KEV, known exploited vulnerabilities. You identify those vulnerabilities in your environment, you prioritize those, especially if they're relevant to the devices on your network. Phase 4, mature and scale workflows. So use dedicated CPS workflows, or, like we talked about, extend any existing IT vulnerability, ticketing, orchestration, or related tools to OT to mature your CPS vulnerability management tactics into scalable, repeatable workflows. So again, you're extending your IT workflows, your personnel that are already used to your IT workflows and your IT tool stack, and you're just feeding it your OT info, right? Simple enough? Everyone still with me? Cool. No, he's not sleeping. All right, so phase 5, optimize risk posture, leverage strategic CPS insights and risk recommendations to drive proactive mitigation. So at this point, you're already matured enough, right? So you already identified your devices, you identified the vulnerabilities associated to your devices, you've prioritized them, you have set up workflows within your environment. Now you are ticking away at the risk, right? You're slowly bringing your risk down and bringing that attack surface lower. Any questions? That's pretty much it. It's simple, really. No, I'm just kidding. It takes a lot of work, but the idea is simple, right? And that's what I kind of wanted to convey. It's not anything complicated. It's pretty straightforward. There are tools out there to help you with that. You just need to have a plan, right? Anybody have any questions? I think I'm like way ahead of time right now. How much time do we have? 20 minutes. I'm sorry? That's part of the tech stack. What about CMDBs are you wondering?
A lot of companies they have them, but they don't have their OT devices.
Right. So you have CMDBs for your IT side, right? And it's built out and it's great. But then on the OT side, you don't have anything. Maybe you only have IP addresses, maybe? I don't know, whatever that might be, right? So again, you discover those devices. Again, there are tools for that. You discover those devices, and then you integrate with your CMDB, and then you push it into that, get those profiles.
Vulnerability management only has to look at one data set.
Right, exactly. And then, I mean, you can do that under CMDB, you can do it under tool that's discovering those devices for you. Just depends on what that workflow is. So if you don't want to learn a whole new, solution, right? You get that solution, you have them discover your devices, you integrate it with your existing tech stack, and then you just don't look at that screen anymore. You have those integrations in place now, right? So now it's feeding OT info, it's getting that vulnerability management for you, maybe it's spitting out ticketing for you, right? Assigning it to you. But that main problem right now is that there is no visibility into that OT environment, right? Currently, it's very manual. The company that I work for, Clarity, I like to say that our #1 competition is Excel worksheets, right? Excel worksheets are #1 competition because that's what the industry is using currently, right? They're just out there manually going in there, writing it down, and after 2 weeks, it is outdated. And then again, they have to go in there and update it, and then again, a month later, it's outdated again. Any other questions? Anything you guys want me to talk about?
So we've moved fairly quickly down the digitization of things. And so we've got, you know, our network monitoring, anomaly detection, backup systems. We've got secure third-party access solution that we've implemented. We've done all this stuff in really the course of about a year
Mm-hmm.
because of TSA Security Directive 2.
All right.
So we kind of, you know, in our case, it was like a lot of that stuff we wanted to do anyway, and recognized that with a TSA directive and the tension that was on there, and the fact that, you know, senior management was concerned about it, that there was going to be money to do various
Mm-hmm.
upgrades and do things. So we jumped on that and implemented all this stuff. And really now, and so now we're getting these lists, and we get, you know, all these alerts and all this kind of stuff saying, oh, hey, all these CVEs are open, and a very large majority, it seems, of the CVEs are pretty low quality discoveries, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, Modbus had, you know, it's like, yeah, we've all been working with this for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, 30 years. Obviously, it, you know, doesn't have some of the protections of other protocols. So, is there any? Do you know of any kind of an effort within, you know, CISA or whatever to try and just get the quality of, like, you know, it's almost like it seems like there's a group or groups of folks that are just trying to get their name on a CVE, so they just go find some very obvious thing and go, oh, hey, I'm going to write a CVE on this. It's of zero value in an actual operating OT environment because you already know that.
Right.
I don't know. We have a hard time, and you know, our system does the, you know, ranking, and so, you know, those first few questions, it was like, okay, we know what's out there. We get this whole list of alerts every day, and we pretty much just ignore to the tune of 4,000 to 5,000 CVE alerts, vulnerability alerts, potential vulnerabilities below, you know, a 7 or 8. It's like a 0 to 10 scale, and we pretty much, I mean, if it's a 9 or 10, we go after it right away. We get it done.
Are you looking at a CVSS score?
Yeah, and
Okay.
then below, you know, 8, 7, or 8,
Right.
you just kind of say like that's useless.
But even then, right? Even if the CVSS score is a 10, it still might not.
The CVS score,
The
the
what?
score that the anomaly detection software.
Oh, okay.
The clarity type.
Okay,
software
yeah.
is saying, hey, for your
This is a
system,
10.
this is a.
Well, you got to
8.
look at how they're coming up with that scoring, right?
Yeah.
So you also have to look at that. But yeah, that's exactly it, right? So look at, like I said, prioritize, right? Number one thing you want to prioritize. Are they looking at known exploited vulnerabilities? Are they prioritizing that?
We named them Kevins.
Kevins. Yeah, okay. So you got your Kevins, right? And then you also have to see if those Kevins are associated to devices that are going to be impactful in your environment, right? So are they tying that into the mix as well in their scoring? Are they contextualizing that?
Named it Kevin now.
Oh, okay. So it's working that way. So that's
Now
what.
we're looking for Kevin.
So that's what you need to do, right? So first, all right, are these known exploits? 1. 2, are these known exploits affecting devices that are going to be impacting my network, my environment, which directly impacts finances, right? Or all about money, right? So you want to see how impactful that's going to be, and then from there you make a game plan.
But it also has to be something that's potentially exploited.
Well, yes. So
It's being exploited.
absolutely. So then, well, that's that Kevin's, right? They are being exploited. But then you're also saying is how is it being exploited, and is there a remediation for it? Is that what you're saying? Right. Yeah, because you can segment, right?
You have something that's being exploited, there's no fix for it yet.
Right.
It could be, you know, Microsoft, it could be 90 days, a year, 10
Well,
years.
okay. So
But you have to at least be able to rank those things to know, okay, this is important. This has something out there in the wild that's could potentially impact it. It's got to raise that above that 7 or 8
So good point. So there's a known exploit, right? Known a Kevin, a Kevin, and then but there is no fix for it. But you still want to have visibility into it. But what can you do about those vulnerabilities and devices that have known exploits but don't have a fix for it? I'm going to open that for everybody else. Yes. Segment it off. Great. Awesome. So I think that's going to be the next point, right? Yes, have visibility into it, right? But also, there you go. Thank you. Hold on. Give me a second, sorry. All right. Also, segment it off so it's not affecting your environment, right? In case it is exploited. So. Fantastic point. So can you give me some examples of those controls that you mentioned? I mean, that's fine. What?
But if it is within your environment, inside your network, so you already have a network perimeter, you have some controls for you to even get to that point, right? So we kind of look at those, we do a risk assessment,
Yep.
not blindly look at the seriousness score 10, drop everything and try to go after it, then you're kind of missing the point, right? So you got to look at what you have first, what controls you have first,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're exploitable, then that risk score might come down and you can focus on it.
Absolutely. Now, you said you're just in IT, right?
I advise the OT side.
Right. But there was a bunch of IT devices in the OT side, right? So you got engineering workstations, for example, right? So those exploits can affect that OT environment still, right? So you're not just in IT. You're gonna be OT.
No, I advise the OT teams.
They're gonna send you some responsibilities here. They're gonna be like, all right, you're gonna need to take care of our OT environment. But we're seeing that, right? We're seeing that a lot of IT security teams are getting tasked with securing the OT environment. Like I mentioned, they're coming about it on the IT side, but then there's some OT things that that you don't know about, which I'm hoping that I kind of give you some principles to follow. Yes.
I work for a company that, no, I can talk about it.
All right.
I work for a company that does manufacturing for oil and gas security stuff. I have 100 years of IT, data center, cloud technology, web security stuff now coming over to the OT side. I was warned before I got here, and it has been reinforced since I've been here. Do not come into the OT side with an IT perspective. And that has been reinforced as a and I get it. I've not been in process engineering or any of that. And I've got, now I understand, I have empathy now for that comment. Because you can't interrupt process engineers. You cannot interrupt a PLC. You cannot touch things. You can't poll. You can't discover. There's things you just cannot do in that side of the industry. So you just make the comment, well, IT needs to come in and do some of this OT, but there's people and process that is, there's a speed bump there that has to be overcome. So I'm curious as to how does an IT person approach the OT side and have a meaningful conversation so that actually makes sense and you're not getting that, hey, you can't do that over here. You can't do that over here. That's what I've been trying to learn since I've been here at the
So I think it's about education and conversation, right? So a lot of times when I go and have conversation, not just oil and gas companies, food and bev is the same. Every OT cybersecurity team, right? or maybe it's an IT team, they never get together. they never come together and have a conversation, right? So what we try to do, and my team tries to do, is get them into a meeting together and talk about this, right? And talk about what you can't do and what you should do and the limitations of that OT environment, right? Like you said, you can't go in there and, I don't know, go and do an Nmap on the OT environment, right? You're going to drop out some of those PLCs and those HMIs, right? So those conversations need to be had. Now, there are some IT folks that are saying, well, what's a big deal? If I secure that outer perimeter of IT, then that means the inner is going to be safe, right? If they can't get into my IT, then how are they going to get into my OT? It's segmented. But that's not true, right? That's not true at all. So now what happens, like I said, they penetrate the IT side before they disrupt the OT side. So they're going to get in your IT, they're going to sit there, they're going to get what they need to get, and they're going to disrupt your OT environment. They're going to stop, production or whatever they might do. And then now you're millions and millions down the drain because you thought you were protected because you were air-gapped. Or you were protected because you had controls in your IT side, but then you just let your OT side go. You need to have visibility into there. So to your question, I think it's about having conversations, bringing the teams together, and kind of educating both sides. So you bring the OT side and kind of have them understand what that IT side is doing and what they're coming from, where they're coming from, and then bring in the IT side from the OT and let them know, like, hey, IT, this is how OT operates because of this, this, and that. You can't do an active scan and go in there and do a vulnerability scan on these devices, because if you do that, you're going to bring down my PLC, and then now I'm out, our company's out millions of dollars, right, for example. Yeah.
So one thing that we recognize that knowledge gap between
Yeah.
between the two, and it's not just one way, right? There's your traditional OT guys, they don't understand routers and
Yep.
all this kind of stuff. There may be a few here and there, and the OT has all these knowledge gaps. And so what we did was create essentially some hybrid roles where we took OT professionals that can do HMIs, PLCs, and all this kind of fun stuff, but have a skill set or learn a skill set around the more traditional IT type roles.
Mm-hmm.
So network segmentation, routers, and rules, and firewall rules, ports, and all this sort of stuff. OT side, so
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like I can hook up a printer maybe.
Right.
That's about it. And then on the IT side, they did the same thing. They brought in, actually created a new role where there's IT folks that have at least some knowledge around OT and been operating in that environment. And through those two people, we just kind of kick-started this whole collaboration thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually regularly schedule interactions between those folks. And one of the simplest things was we actually just, like, we're from Alaska, we're physically on the same floor with the IT people. So we've got
Right.
OT and IT engineering folks on the same floor, a couple doors down from each other. We talk, we grab coffee, we bring them donuts sometimes, whatever it takes. But we recognize that it wasn't just a technology issue. It was a people and
Mm-hmm.
a knowledge gap issue. And the only way to really address that was somehow we had to get these folks together. And we chose to go with this kind of hybrid roles where we've got OT people that kind of know what IT stuff is, and we've got IT people that are now starting to know where that data that they're grabbing and giving to all the DevOps stuff, where that's coming from and what some of the restrictions are.
Absolutely. So again, the conversation is important, right? So bringing them together, so that hybrid role. So you mentioned that he has hybrid roles in this company now. So people that are going to be OT and IT. So maybe they came from the OT side, and then they're learning about the IT difficulties and challenges. And then some people from the IT side that kind of understand what OT is going through, right? And then now you kind of have advocates for both coming in and sharing that knowledge gap. So that's important. That's great. So what company? Hillcorp?
Hillcorp.
That's awesome.
I actually gave a presentation on that at another event.
Awesome. That's awesome. So again, yes. What? So you're saying now, why should they have the same? So when I said kind of converge them, that's the part where you don't understand why. You're saying that they should have separate for security reasons. Okay, so the tools that I'm talking about are more like information tools. So we're talking about like CMDBs, SIMs, right? Your SOC, right? So those are the tools I'm talking about. So typically in the OT environment, you wouldn't even have endpoint protection because you can't install it on a PLC, and that's the main challenge. So when we're talking about we can't get visibility into these devices, and when I say asset discovery is number one, it's because of those challenges. These devices are old, very old, right? These PLCs are old. You look at them, they go offline. so you can't put endpoint devices on them because of that. So I'm not really talking about endpoint agents and all that good stuff. I'm talking about, your processes as far as CMDB and getting complete inventory, right? Your SIM to get syslogs of events that happen on the network on your OT side sent over to your SIM that's your IT side using, so they're also getting knowledge on the OT side, right? So that's what I was talking about. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. I don't know. It depends on how many IT and OT guys I have in here. It's going to depend on how I answer that. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So I'm the dreaded recruiter in the room, and I was going to touch on your point earlier when you said that you've hired hybrid people. That's literally what I specialize in doing. I've specialized in OT ICS security, so I bridge the gap and help people find talent that either come from the OT side and have stepped into a little bit of IT or come from IT and into OT. And what I've found is and not to offend anyone, please don't get upset at me, but it's easier to teach someone who's been in engineering, cybersecurity, and IT than it is to teach an IT person how to work the control systems, because it's just a lot more complicated and it takes a lot more of a career history to get a professional level and very senior in that. So that's something that I educate a lot of my clients on, because they make the mistake of hiring IT guys and then trying to throw them into the OT world, and it's just a lot more training, a lot more resources that need to take place. So definitely I would say OT into IT. Yeah.
And even to take that a step further, I looked at it and said, well, if somehow AI takes over this whole realm, at least the OT guy can still go back and help me out with PLCs and HMIs, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So if that's something that you need to draw and you need people, I'm your person. That's all I do, day in and out, and I love it. So.
I've had a lot of success in
It's a lot easier than you think. I've bridged the gap, I promise.
I think a nice, I guess, politically correct answer in this environment would be anybody's able to train on either side, all right? So I'm a true believer in that. I wasn't an OT guy to begin with. Again, U.S. Air Force, networking, and servers. That's all I did. And even before that, I didn't even touch computers. The only reason I touched computers is to play video games, and that was it. And then if it broke, I just gave it a Geek Squad. Go figure out what's going on with it. So anybody can learn either side. It just depends on how badly they want to learn it. I guess that's a better answer. Rather than how easier it is, which I could appreciate that because some companies want to get that immediate ROI, right? But to directly answer your question, anybody can learn it. Any other questions? I think we're short. Are we?
No, you're good. We're 1 minute over, so.
1 minute over. Wow. I don't think. Thank you guys for being engaging. You guys have been awesome.